Now on the CTV News at 5, the cause of Tabor's arena explosion.
Definitely not something that's seen often, and it's definitely not something that we've heard of from even the manufacturer.
Plus, more doctors are setting up shop in Lethbridge, but is it enough? And the latest on efforts to recall Alberta's education minister.
Telling your stories. CTV News Lethbridge with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. We now know what caused an explosion at the Tabor Arena last month. The town saying today a failure of a component within the fuel system of the Zamboni led to a propane leak, which ultimately caused the blast. Now, as Carson Marsouk reports, officials say the incident was not caused by human error.
It's a blast that sent a garage door flying across the parking lot at the Tabor Arena on December 17th.
The findings confirm that the explosion was not, repeat, was not the result of human error or procedural failure.
The town of Tabor says the blast was caused by a failure of a component within the fuel system of the Zamboni, which resulted in a propane leak, causing a gas cloud within the ice surfacer room. When that cloud reached an electric heater in the area, the fumes ignited.
Definitely not something that's seen often, and it's definitely not something that we've heard of from even the manufacturer.
While there was about a dozen people inside at the time, no one was injured.
Damage is one thing, that's easy to deal with, but that can be replaced with people or not. So we're very fortunate, very thankful, very blessed that that's the end result.
Now testing is underway to determine if there's any hazardous materials in the facility.
I know that it looks fantastic from the outside, but it's not so simple on the inside.
The town says while majority of the damage is within the arena, the hazardous materials can travel through the building's HVAC system or by the force of the blast itself.
So vermiculite is commonly used to infill that cinder block brick, right? And that comes with about I think it's a 1% asbestos ratio inside that stuff. And that is enough for legislation to make it so that you have a particular way that you have to clean that mess up. So yeah, it was really mostly in that brick wall that separated the large ice from the small ice in the curling.
Once test results are back from the lab, the town will be able to move forward with a reopening plan of certain facilities. Until then, they're asking the community to be patient and thanking neighboring communities for their support with ice times and resources.
None of this is about delay for delay's sake. It is about doing things correctly, safely, and in a way that protects staff, users, and the public.
Carson Marsouk, CTV News, Tabor.
While insurance and total damage assessments are being completed, the town has also entered into the Craft Hockeyville competition with the chance of winning $250,000. After years of loss, Lethbridge is starting to see more doctors coming to the city to practice, but there is still work to be done to address a lack of access and high patient loads for doctors. Quinn Keenan has that story.
The latest numbers from the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta shows more physicians are setting up shop in Lethbridge. In Q3 of 2025, the city saw a net gain of 6 doctors. Since 2022, Lethbridge has seen a gain of 43, with 317 registered physicians now practicing.
I mean, it's always good news to hear that, we are getting more physicians coming to the province. We have to remember that doesn't always mean more access because the population of Lethbridge and the province has also grown.
The province attributes much of this new growth to new compensation model and improved process for certifying foreign trained doctors. Alberta is seeing a rise in new physicians across the province. The province provided an update in a statement saying Alberta continues to see growth in its physician workforce, and we remain focused on recruitment. As of December 1st, Alberta had 13,576 registered physicians, an increase of 1,364 since December 31st, 2024, setting a new record for the province. While more physicians in Lethbridge is good news, there still appears to be a shortage. Just one clinic in the city is currently accepting patients. Some doctors are treating up to 3,000 patients, which is 3 times the recommended amount. Friends of Medicare estimates up to 40% of Lethbridge residents are without a physician.
But this is really terrible. I know quite a few people personally who have no doctor, who have not had a doctor for 6 years, and that means they're not getting any tests.
The Southern Alberta Medical Program will begin its first classes in July at the University of Lethbridge. The program will train up to about 30 students annually once fully operational.
Physicians are more attracted to work in places where there might be trainees, where there can be some succession planning, where they're going to work with young physicians who might take over a practice or join a practice.
Quinn Keenan, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Danielle Savoni is here to talk about the forecast, and Danielle, more of this Chinook is here for a little bit.
Absolutely, yes. This entire week, we're going to be dealing with those winds out of the west, which means warm temperatures and at times quite windy. Now, it's been a little more reasonable today in the Pincher Creek area. Maximum gust today, 69 kilometers per hour. Yesterday, it was at least 20 kilometers per hour gustier than that. We're looking at max gusts in Lethbridge today was 63 and in the 50s for Medicine Hat. So yeah, it's been windy in the far south, but this is what it's done to our temperatures. We have very mild temperatures for this time of year. We're above freezing Pincher Creek, Lethbridge, Milk River and Brooks, and just below it in Medicine Hat. Your full forecast is just ahead, Jackie.
Thanks, Danielle. Now, Lethbridge police want to know if you have seen this man. 35-year-old Chad Pard is wanted on multiple arrest warrants for failing to comply with release order conditions, breach of probation, uttering threats, and criminal harassment. Anyone who has seen Pard or has information on his whereabouts is asked to call police. LPS is also trying to track down 2 suspects wanted in separate theft investigations. Few details are available, but police say they're asking for the public's help identifying this woman in connection to a theft. Police are also trying to locate this man in an alleged theft. If you have information on either of these people, you're asked to contact Lethbridge Police or Crime Stoppers, and Crime Stoppers will back cash for information leading to an arrest. Lethbridge police have charged 2 northern Alberta men with drug trafficking offences, and one of the men was charged twice in just 2 days. On December 30th, officers saw a man in a blue Honda Accord engaging in activities consistent with drug trafficking. When they pulled the vehicle over, police say the 23-year-old driver tried to swallow multiple bags of what was believed to be cocaine. A small amount of drugs and cash were found, and the man was charged, then released. The next day, police say they spotted the same man conducting a suspicious transaction with a 19-year-old man in Colehurst. Both vehicles were searched. Cocaine and cash were seized. A search warrant at a home being used as an Airbnb along Devonia Circle West resulted in over $16,000 seized. 2 men from Edmonton and Spruce Grove face charges. Active citizen-led petitions are shaping Alberta politics this year, but due to division, there are some accusations of harassment. Molly Metcalf is organizing the recall petition against Highwood MLA RJ Sigurdsson. She's received around 500 signatures so far. Metcalf says volunteers have been harassed, and she has received threatening emails. She says those against the petition have taken pictures of private information. RCMP were notified, but there is no investigation underway.
I'm a generally pretty positive person, so I like to see it as just like, yeah, these people are clearly unhappy, but we're still doing something. I'd like to keep going. I would not fault any of my volunteers if they feel unsafe and decide to stop. Like, that's totally fair.
Metcalf has until February 22nd to garner another 15,000 signatures. Meanwhile, the organizer of a petition to recall Alberta's education minister says they still have a long way to go. The deadline is approaching for the petition to oust Dimitrios Nicolaides. The woman behind it says she has gathered about 6,000 signatures so far. She needs another 10,000 in the next 2 weeks. That would force a vote in Calgary-Bow on whether Nicolaides should remain in the legislature. It's the first of 26 petitions to unseat Alberta MLAs. Public school boards in Calgary and Edmonton say they have removed dozens of books from their libraries to comply with a provincial order. The Calgary Board of Education says it has removed 44 books, but it won't list which ones they are. The Edmonton Public School Board says it has removed 34 books. The provincial policy announced last fall requires school boards to remove books with explicit images or illustrations of sexual content. CTV reached out to the Lethbridge Public School Division to see if it has removed any books, but did not hear back in time for broadcast. Lethbridge County is moving from an in-house assessor to an external service provider for property assessment services. The county says its longtime assessor is retiring this year, and Benchmark Assessment Consultants has been selected as the new provider. Benchmark currently serves 48 other municipalities in the province. Property owners in the county will now see Benchmark assessors carrying out property inspections for new development and building permits. All right, it is time for our first break, and you know what that means. Danielle is back with forecast right after this break. Plus, the experts weigh in on the impact of returning to work after the holidays.
All right, Skywatch weather camera. Beautiful Chinook clouds. We definitely have Chinook conditions that will be happening. And I will say this, on and off as we go through the rest of this week. So temperatures are going to fluctuate throughout the day as the winds pick up, bring in some warmer air, and then as the winds die down, you'll notice things dropping a little bit. And that's why we're just not going to go through that consistent afternoon warm up and then drop as we head into the evening. You'll notice temperatures changing throughout the day and going up and down. All right, 1 degree is the temperature at the moment in Calgary, 2 in Lethbridge, 1 in Milk River, at the freezing mark for Pincher Creek, and just below that for Medicine Hat in through the Brooks area. Today has been a little more reasonable with regards to the gusts in the Pincher Creek area because yesterday it was close to that 90 mark and today 69. Lethbridge into the 60s as well, so it's still windy, just not as windy as yesterday. Lethbridge peaked at 70 yesterday and quite gusty for the Medicine Hat area at 56. All right, let's fast forward to tomorrow and what you can expect. And around 70 kilometers per hour, certainly likely Lethbridge and through the Pincher Creek, Crowsnest Pass corridor. And then for Medicine Hat, closer to 50. Calgary looking at 60. So a windy day once again. That will be predominantly out of the west throughout the day, and that will be that Chinook wind that will kick up the temperatures once again. So it's a very mild week. And in the next couple of days, it will be even more mild than what we've been having, and many communities will be getting into those plus double digits. All right, I'll show you that in the long range in just a second. All right, we have this push you can see from the west. We will see a few flurries out there in some communities for tomorrow. So I'm going to give you the timeline here. Let me fast forward to when we're looking at that, because before that, nothing really to talk about. But by tomorrow evening, that's when you're looking at some flurries developing along the QE2 and through Calgary, along the mountains. Highway 2 might see some of this as well, and it might peak right into Lethbridge. Again, this is nothing significant. Banff may see a couple centimeters from this, but in the far south, we're not looking at really accumulating anything. Maybe closer to the Pincher Creek, closer to the BC border, we may see about a centimeter from this, but overall, it's a quiet one, a little burst of flurries, and then it's done, and we're still looking at a warm day as well. And the only real time we're going to see that is tomorrow evening in southern Alberta. All right, East Kootenay area, -4 tonight, gusts 40 kilometers per hour this evening, dying down a little bit overnight, back to 40 for tomorrow. And you're looking at a high of 0 with a mix of sun and cloud. Crowsnest Pass -6 tonight, another high of about -1 for tomorrow. Gusts 50 kilometers per hour as we head through the evening, so it will quiet down, but it'll be back to 70 likely for tomorrow with, again, that mix of sun and cloud. Medicine Hat -10 overnight, a high of 0 for tomorrow, 40 to 50 kilometer per hour gusts, although it will be quiet in those overnight hours. And then a mix of sun and cloud for tomorrow as well. Again, down Highway 2 over to Lethbridge is where we get that small chance of seeing some isolated flurries tomorrow evening. But for the day for tomorrow, we're just looking at a mix of sun and cloud for Lethbridge, gusts up to 70 kilometers per hour, a high of 1. And then, as you can see, we get warmer and warmer. 9 by Saturday, likely plus double digits by Sunday.
Feeling a bit off to start the new year. For many Canadians, returning to work after the holidays can be a daunting task. CTV's Maria Sarro explains what experts are calling the time off tax.
Office doors swing open and supply boxes are carried in. For some workers, this first week back on the job isn't exactly slow and steady.
It feels like there's a sprint when we return to work.
According to the newest numbers from ADP Canada's Happiness at Work Index, just under a third of employees took all their vacation time in 2025. And those who did take a week off reported spending nearly 17 extra hours on average prepping or catching up. Workplace experts call that a time-off tax, adding when employees are worried about the pileup, it's harder to really switch off.
You don't get the same kind of refresh, and you don't come back re-energized and ready to take on what comes at you in the new calendar year.
ADP Canada's Heather Haslam adds there's lots leaders can do to role model and encourage healthier habits.
Making sure that there's backup, making sure that there's adequate documentation for policies, doing some cross-training.
And for employees, the new year offers an opportunity to set better boundaries.
Our personalities have this guilt, rest is a 4-letter word, but we don't realize that being productive and engaged and doing better at our job requires it.
The strain can show up in worker sentiment. In December, the country's workforce happiness score was 6.8 out of 10, down slightly from November. Atlantic Canada came in just above that at 6.9, but fell more sharply from 7.5. As people filter in and out of office buildings like this one, workers across the Atlantic provinces report better work-life balance, but they can carry a heavier time-off tax. So the advice from experts this week is to ramp up rather than race. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
After updating numbers from previous weeks, the province of Alberta is now reporting 110 Albertans have died from the flu. More than 2,700 people have been hospitalized since the start of the flu season in August. The province says getting vaccinated is the best way to protect yourself from influenza. Canadians continue to struggle when it comes to exercise. The 2025 Participation Report Card finds 46% of adults are meeting physical activity guidelines. That equates to a C- grade. Meanwhile, Canadians get a D when it comes to getting enough steps in per day. Doing muscle strengthening activities and participating in sports. The report warns physical inactivity costs Canada $3.9 billion in avoidable health care costs every year. Adding adults who are active daily, they have a 30% lower risk of depression and dementia. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5. Backyard hockey rinks are pretty common in Alberta, but one in Quebec is next level. That story is coming up. Lethbridge Hurricanes hit the ice for some midweek hockey tonight. It'll be the Seattle Thunderbirds making a rare visit to the Windy City. This will be the first and only meeting between the two this season. It has been a tough season for Seattle as they sit last in the Western Conference. Lethbridge has fewer points than Seattle, currently occupying the second last place in the East. Puck drop at the VLC is at 7 tonight. Now the Canes will be without their leading scorer. It was announced earlier today Luke Cousins has been traded to the Medicine Hat Tigers. Cousins was sent along with a conditional 2028 fourth-round pick in exchange for defenseman Kyle Hager and another conditional 2028 fourth-round pick. Hager is draft eligible this season and was given a B grade by NHL Central Scouting. Well, the steel structure is going up and construction is about to go into overdrive at Calgary's Event Centre. Work in 2025 was about digging the 35-foot hole for the new home of the Calgary Flames, and now they are building up. 1,100 structural piles have been poured. 9,000 metric tons of steel is being installed. Up to 200 workers are on site every day. Work will continue through the cold winter months. 2026 will see major steel work continue.
We'll start also to enclose the building. So the exterior cladding will follow on the south side, where we can actually start to get more control over our environment, which will be key to our schedule.
This year we'll also see interior work start on the 3 restaurants, food hall, and public gathering areas. The project is still on schedule to open in the fall of 2027. A backyard hockey rink on a Quebec lake is getting major attention thanks to a homemade Zamboni that was built from scratch. As CTV's Dave Charbonneau reports, it definitely gets put to work between periods.
And in 2010, I decided to start doing a skating rink on the lake.
For Chris Flynn, building a rink on Long Lake in Mayo, Quebec, northeast of Gatineau, has been a labor of love for more than a decade. But keeping the ice smooth wasn't always easy. Until now.
The last year, year or two, Stefan has helped me to take it to another level.
That next level came from his neighbor, Stéphane Dehaye, and a machine he built by hand.
What we like about it, it's the same shape as a real Zamboni.
The project started with old equipment and a lot of problem solving.
I had an old lawnmower machine and I started from there.
The homemade Zamboni uses hot water, just like the real thing, making a big difference. The result? Smooth, glistening ice.
We're able to use hot water, which cures and repairs the ice better than cold water.
The machine even rolls out between periods, turning a pickup game into something straight out of an arena.
So it's everyone's true dream. In between periods, this miniature Zamboni came and did the rink.
The video of that moment has now gone viral, but for Dehaye, the payoff is much simpler.
It's a lot of work to maintain the rink on the lake, but every time we got people using it, it's a reward for us.
A homemade Zamboni, a backyard rink, and a neighborhood project that shows just how far Canadians will go for the love of the game. Dave Charbonneau, CTV News.
Tim Hortons has signed its first partnership with the Canadian Olympic Committee. Now, the company says each time Canada wins a gold medal, members of its loyalty program will receive special offers. There will also be Olympic-branded packaging. The partnership means Tim Hortons will be supplying coffee to Canadian athletes, coaches, and their families in Italy in February. The deal lasts 8 years. Tim Hortons also signed a 3-year agreement with the Canadian Paralympic Committee. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, why a Quebec apartment has been nicknamed the Ice Castle. A Quebec home has been renamed the Ice Castle for all the wrong reasons. A tenant turned off the heat and left. The water pipes burst, flooding the apartment, leaving a thick layer of ice everywhere. Genevieve Beauchemin reports.
Much of this 2-story apartment is now locked in ice, frozen in time. Some of the scattered frozen piles look like chiseled ice sculptures. But these were shaped by misfortune. This is an extreme case, says owner Jacques No. The tenant left on vacation and probably wanted to save money on electricity. We know everything is more expensive these days, and he turned off the heat. Now, the owner isn't quite sure when this happened, but the pipes froze, the toilet cracked, and liters of water flowed out and froze in this cold winter. Ice-encased appliances, and it's about 30 centimeters thick on the kitchen floor. This ice castle, as neighbors call it, isn't quite as palatial as Edmonton's, built for fun with its caverns and archways. And it's not exactly as magical as Elsa's castle in Disney's Frozen.
Whoa! Now that's ice. I might cry.
The owner here too might have cried, but is busy tending heaters to melt the ice. That was an icicle falling off the ceiling. Once the ice is melted, the unit will have to be stripped and rebuilt to be a cozy, warm home once again. The tenant hasn't paid his rent in over 6 months and has now been evicted. The apartment owner says this is a good reminder to us all not to turn the temperature all the way down to keep our homes safe and warm. Genevieve Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
Thank you for sharing this time with us. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.